Okay, so when it pops out, you get a bit of a warning that that's going to go down. Hola ballers and welcome to my sunset environment here as we're heading into Dune Awakening. I had been so looking forward to this game for all the wrong reasons for a really long time, like months and months and months. Why? It was definitely going to be terrible. It was going to be like an MTX-laden nightmare of cash-in on the IP. To do all those things, we thought it's going to be awful. And I was like, I love Dune. Dune was probably the book series when I was like 7 or something that got me into sci-fi to this day. And I was like, I'm playing the hell out of it, man. And I'm telling you, it's going to be just, it's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be a whole, and my entire audience was like, dude, it's going to suck so bad. It's going to suck so bad. I'm like, screw you guys. I'm going to have a good time. Here's the problem when we make those kinds of calls based on what we see. We did the same with RoboCop. It kind of turns out to be good. That's almost disappointing. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. No, it's not perfect. It's got several problems, but it turns out to be pretty good. And as I look through my Steam friend list, everybody's over 50 hours now, like just balls deep into Doom. We're playing early access. We're doing so much stuff in it. I totally get it. What is it? What is Dune Awakening? Because it was billed as like an MMO. I mean, it is, but not in the sense of we think about MMOs. And I want to be clear on this. I do not need anybody down below in the comments typing their definition of MMOs. I don't care, right? MMO just means there's a lot of people playing online together. That's it. That's the bare minimum requirement. That does have this. But it has a bunch of problems. Let's talk about the cons, first of all. The MMO side of it, obviously, people were looking forward to perhaps something, you know, WoW-ish, FF14-ish. We're all together. We're all in, you know, there's thousands of people on the server. Nope. And rightfully so, as frustrating as it is. They've backed themselves into a bit of a corner with the design ideas. The servers hold, I'll be honest, guys, I don't know the exact number, but it's like 60 to 100 people. That's about it. And then they lock the servers down. So the server where all my friends rolled on, where they're all there, was locked during early access. You couldn't get in. And then it periodically came open. I think it's been open twice since then. It opened. I got like bombarded with messages saying the server's open. You make a character before I started streaming it. So I was like, okay. So I ran downstairs in my home. I installed the game at my home PC. By the time I had done that, which was really quick, and went to make a character, it was locked again because the message had gone around across our Discords and things, and everybody had jumped on the server. They've created some magnificent things. I think Bex can show you here. But what you're seeing is actually the building side of it. That's why they've limited people, because anybody can kind of just build anywhere, and they want you to make multiple camps. They really want you to do that. That's part of the game, is you basically you're making sieges, if you're aware of the Dune world. So they want you to set up camps in this zone, in that zone, all over the place. They want you to make little camps so you have outposts and things. And obviously if they have thousands of people doing that in a very small map, because the map is large enough, but from what I can tell, I haven't explored it all yet. We're talking now 15 hours in, maybe 16. It's not enormous, right? It's not Azeroth, right? It's not Eorzea. It's not that. So if people could build anywhere as much as they want, as far as I can tell, there's no limit on how many buildings you can have, then you can't just have thousands of people there. It just doesn't work. They have put in a system of degradation. The buildings need power, and once that power runs out, and the power is very easy to come by, if you're actively playing, you'll passively collect tons and tons of ways of powering your base, and it also goes for days. I think most of my bases are now up to like 7 days, so if I logged out for a week and came back, they'd still be there and still fully functioning. But if you're gone for longer, then what will happen is the power will run out, and now they're no longer protected from like sandstorms and worm attack and things like that, so the bases will naturally degenerate and you can just take all the resources. Like strangers can come in and take all your resources. So they've come up with some idea to keep the map less cluttered. I imagine in a few months' time, when, you know, people tend to drop out of games, as naturally they do, is it will probably look a bit more bare, open deserts with occasional buildings. Right now, there's buildings on mountains. There's like 5 or 6 buildings in every canyon you go into, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's understandable, but you're not going to have that big MMO experience. In my server, I occasionally see like 2 people max. I see a lot of buildings, but occasionally see like 2 people because they're off in different zones doing different things, and it actually works out kind of well in the pros, which we'll get to shortly. The other con, but is it a con, really? Not if you're a fan of this survival crafter genre, not really. But it's a con for me. So it's what I dub a game without purpose. There's a few of these out there. There's games without purpose. There's no goal, right? Like the overarching goal. There is a story. There's a story that's ongoing. But if there is a goal, if it's not made itself present within 16 hours, I consider that a game without purpose. So what does that mean? Why do I call them that? It's because there's tons of gameplay to do, but it's in service of just playing the game. What you're not doing is chasing down a big bad. You're not trying to overthrow the planet. You've not got some overarching boss fight that's coming up or anything like that, right? So I called it Valheim Light, which I think is a pretty fair description of what this game is. It's Valheim Light. It has all those Valheim elements. You're building, you're seeking out resources, including your usual, your copper, your iron, your granite, power cells. Obviously it's sci-fi, so there's some advanced tech in there. You're taking weapon tier 1 to weapon tier 2 to weapon tier 3. At the same time, you're moving into higher level zones, which need weapon tier 2, weapon tier 3 to counter them. And along the way, you're getting faster and faster sand bikes. You're going to eventually get ornithopters so you can fly around. You're making better and better machines in your base. So ore processor 1 needs to be upgraded to ore processor 2 in order to process the next tier of... You get the idea, right? You've just got all these tech trees that you're moving your way through. But it's in service of basically making your character better, right? That's the goal. I mean, I would also dub games like Path of Exile and Diablo similar to these, although you can set goals in there. Like, I want to kill Ubers, right? That could be the goal you want to set. And this game is the same. What is your goal? What are you setting up? Do you want to build some monolithic base? Do you want to become the most powerful character on the server? You have to set your own goal, but it's about the gameplay. That's what it's about. It's about the gameplay. Are you enjoying the journey, even though the journey is essentially everlasting? That's the idea here. I don't really like that aspect. Like, one thing I love about Valheim, and why I can't wait to go back to it as well, is that I have a goal there. The goal is to find out how to summon the next major boss, kill it, and eventually they'll be the last boss. And that will be like the cutoff for me. That's the point where I cut off. But for many other people, they're not interested in that too much. They just want to build really awesome bases and set up networks and travel points throughout the entire world. And they want to do all that kind of stuff. That's great. You're setting your own goals there. For me, I need that big goal that I'm heading towards from the start. Like with Valheim, you've probably killed the first boss within the first couple of hours, and now you're on your way to figure out the more dangerous areas, right? Do you get the idea? Hope so. If not, okay. So how is the gameplay? The gameplay is fine. Is it stellar? No. It's got a bunch of problems. It's got jank, but it's more than serviceable. It's not to the point where, like, I don't know if I should tell you guys this. Okay, I will, briefly. Sorry, Bex, because you might be able to find some footage of this or not. About a year or so, I think it was a year, maybe a year and a half ago, we worked with the people who made Ori, and they'd released a game called... I only played it last night as well. Something Wicked or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to double check. I know, I'm just the worst streamer in the world. No Rest for the Wicked. That's what it was. I didn't even have to look. No Rest for the Wicked. Where the big selling point was the aesthetic of the game looking essentially like a painting in every scene. And I really liked the prologue that they gave us, which was what I was allowed to stream. They were like, okay, you can stream the prologue, but we want you to stop at a certain boss, like the first big boss, because after that, big story spoilers are happening. I was like, oh, okay. And last night, my kids wanted to play something with me that had some more parry combat, because they've been doing some Expedition 33. And I was like, you know what? We could go back to that. The stream doesn't really miss it. That's something I could play at home on a controller, because I have to game on a TV. So I was like, that's pretty cool. And I went past the prologue, and man, did that game fall off so hard. And it made me really sad, because the guys were like, this is not good. And they'd sacrificed aesthetic over gameplay. That's what they had done. They had fought so hard to have this beautiful, gorgeous world that it actually created a ton of gameplay problems. And if your gameplay is just not there and not serviceable, you're going to run into those issues. Like, you're going to just hit that wall. They've done a good job of balancing that out. It's not perfect. It's not... I would compare it to, like, early Mass Effect kind of gameplay. Age of Conan is obviously made by the same company, so it's very similar to that. It's serviceable, it works, but occasionally things just don't work right. And you're like, oh, that's so frustrating. Because you do get special powers and things like that, but they just don't always land. Certain You know it when you play it, but is it workable? Yeah, it's totally fine. Like, it's absolutely fine. It's not janky and horrible like it was in No Rest for the Wicked, where I was like, this is just really silly. It just doesn't work out too well. The big addition to give it the Dune vibe is, of course, the sandworms. They've done a great job with this. I imagine most of the time went into making the sandworms a really key feature of this. And it was... they've done a good job. There's tension even 16 hours in with the sandworms. Is that once you go past like the cliff's edge, of which they're the way they've segmented the zones is quite clever, is that you have sort of enormous gaps of open sand dunes. That's really scary in this game, because if you get eaten by Shai Hulud, you lose all your stuff. If you die to like enemies and stuff, you can recover your backpack, and in fact you get to keep most of your stuff. You lose like resources you collected, but in terms of your tools and armor, you get to keep all that. It's very gentle. Again, Valheim Lights, very, very gentle. But if you get eaten by a sandworm, you lose everything, including your bikes, your advanced weapons, and things like that. That's when it's like a Valheim death, where you've lost everything and you're absolutely screwed. And that's really dangerous. So when you're out on the sands, you'll have a noise meter. One thing you can't do is walk without rhythm. I tried different things like crouching, running, walking, trying to get that vibe going. It doesn't seem to have an effect. It's just if you're out on the sand, which is a shame. I would like to see people duck walking and sprinting and actually walking without rhythm in the game. But I guess they wanted the sandworms to be dangerous, and if everybody just knew that, if you go crouch 5, walk 5, run 5, crouch 5, whatever, and then the worms don't attack you, it would have lost all its threat. So I get it. But it's great. Like, it goes red. They are also pretty gentle with the sandworms as well. I think this is quite nice. Is that you get a gauge of what is considered a dangerous travel versus, like, I'll probably be pretty safe here. Because once you hit red, which means a sandworm is coming, there's an enormous epic emergence of the sandworms. And then they start chasing you. A good maybe 15 seconds later, they'll actually start chasing you. So you get the ability to cross big open deserts pretty easily, but you also know when you look at like, oh my god, there's no way to stop here. So I do want to talk about the pros here. The pros are the immersion factor. The sun is scorching. Being out in the sun is a really bad idea. So you start naturally traveling by the shade. That's good. That's very immersive. You want to be in the shade. You want to fight in the shade. You want to be out of the direct sunlight, because once you're in the sunlight too long, you start draining water very quickly. And water is, of course, as precious as diamonds on Arrakis. And they come up with... it gets easier to manage water the higher up the tech tree you go, but it's still a factor if you're doing a long excursion out of your base and you're away from your water supply. And you can bring water with you and stuff like that. But you need to prepare. That's good as well. When you're under attack from sandworms, other people can distract them. It's not like there's a sandworm per person. There'll be a sandworm roaming the areas. But if somebody else distracts them by either causing noise and causing it to emerge far away from you, or by using a thumper to lure it away, you can have those moments, and I've had them, where you're like, oh my god, I'm going to get attacked here, and it's like somebody's lured it away. That's straight out of the books. That is straight out of the movies. That is fantastic. That is the kind of thing you want to have, and it's like, I've genuinely had those moments where I was like, oh, somebody else attracted the worm. Cool, we can make this journey. That is absolutely fantastic. And if there's no one else around, and you can play multiplayer. I should point out I'm not doing multiplayer because everybody's on a server I can't get on. So it's fine. The solo experience is, I think, something people want to know about regardless. So for purposes of our analysis, it's fine to play solo. But it is designed to play multiplayer. Kind of like Night Rain. It's designed to be playing multiplayer, but people do want to know, is like, well, can I just log in and play on my own? Is it fine? Yes, you totally can. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. The rhythm of the game. So the immersion factor is right there. I think they did a great job with this. You really feel like you're not welcome. It's a hostile environment. It's very scary. And you have to make choices. And they very quickly start upgrading you to make those choices a little less restrictive. So, sand bike, so you can start whizzing across the desert at hyperspeed. And then eventually you'll be able to fly. And then ultimately, I think the final zone is the deep desert. So that's probably where you're going to be ornithoptering and things like that out into there. I haven't made it there yet, so take that with a pinch of salt. Beyond that, what do I think of the game overall? I think this game is perfect for the people who love this genre. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I'm also ready to put it down probably the next day, and we're going to move on to something like Lies of P, especially because I've got to stream from home next week because my wife's having surgery, so I'll be at home to take care of her. But it's one of those games where I can see, oh yeah, I played that game. I have 800 hours in it. No problem. Just absolutely no problem at all. Similar to what you would have with Valheim. It's like, yeah, I've played that game. I've got 2,000 hours in. And for other people, they'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm upgrading stuff. I'm getting more powerful. I got like 10 hours in, and I just didn't get it. That's understandable too, because it's got side quests and things that you can pick up all the time. But generally, you have a pretty solid routine that you'll get into, which is get to a new zone, climb really high, launch a probe to scout the area, find out where all the extra information and things is to upgrade your research tree and things like that. And then you'll be going on excursions to build yourself a new base, make sure it's producing water by draining the blood of all the nearby scavengers and then having blood processing machines process all their blood into water. You will prepare yourself to go on an excursion and try and hit landmarks in an almost Assassin's Creed fashion, where you're going to pick up intel, you're going to pick up the more rare resources. I will give a good shout here that it blatantly tells you where those resources are. So once you scout the area, there'll be a map icon on all the places you can visit, such as little scavenger camps and even major points of interest. And it will just say, oh, this drops like microfiber plastics and it has EMF generators here. So if you want those resources, that's where you should go. And if you're looking at your crafting tree and your fabricator, and you're like, oh, I really need this new armor and I need some EMF generators, it's just a case of looking at the map and going, okay, if I go there, I definitely get them. And another big pro to this game is the very short respawn time on resources. Everybody's building bases right next to certain resources that you need all the time. So in the certain areas, it'll be iron, copper, granite, metal, whatever. So people build their base right next to it because it respawns like every 10 minutes. So you could literally just have this free, in almost like Satisfactory Factorio style, as you're right next to your resource generation. Build it next to a camp that has plenty of enemies in it, so you can just go and collect a bunch of blood in 5 minutes and then be back and processing it all, so you have a constant water supply in your base. Like, all these things are in service to better gameplay. You're never low. And it's only like the rare super resources that are just at locations where you're all set to go out and do things. I will say that if you do get eaten by sandworm, which happened a couple of times to me, one intentionally and one where it was like we got stuck and had to get across a long area and I got caught very quickly. That is brutal. That took me a couple of hours of recovery. Once you lose everything, it is similar to Valheim. It's like, okay, I have to recraft everything, especially if your other bases where you have a bunch of resources because you can't ship between them has all your stuff, but you can't get there because it's too far away across the desert, like rebuilding the bike and stuff. So you will have that friction, but it's very gentle compared to certainly something like Valheim. So I'm going to give it another day and see if anything starts to pop up, and I'll give a final sort of thoughts on it after that. Dune Awakening. Bye, guys.